Hi, this is Doug Larkin from Cup of Joe, and I'm here today to tell you the story of the very strangely named album that we have coming out called K-Vart. And let's see, there's the cover. Um, so the story starts back during COVID. A couple months into the shutdown, and putting myself back there, uh, having not seen people other than on screens for a while. Um, Steve Spatucci and my brother-in-law Seamus and I set up just some instruments out in the garage, and it was a little chilly that day, but we just played for a while in the garage, and it was nice. We had our um, it was its own kind of cave, I guess. But so some of the songs that end up on the album had their start in that particular session. So fast forward to May 2021 when the vaccine became available. Um, my site, because I work in North Jersey in Essex County, was at this old Kmart in West Orange, New Jersey. And Kmart's been out of business in New Jersey. I don't know if it still exists somewhere, but it doesn't exist in New Jersey. And for those of you who never actually went to a Kmart, it was the kind of cross between what might be seen as like a Target and a Home Depot today. The closest thing I've seen to it is out in the Midwest. We have like a place like Menards, where you could get everything from nails for interior paneling to socks, all kinds of things. This is a box I found this past week from my father-in-law's collection of tools and things. Anyway, so this Kmart was completely, hollowed out and was cavernous, dare I say. And they had us line up and lots of space in between everybody. And the day I got there actually weren't that many people there at the time. You had to make an appointment. It was pretty spaced out. Um, and yeah, I mean, Kmart had these escalators. The whole thing. It was a little surreal to be in this because I grew up going to Kmart. I pick the shoes out of the bin and they're still tied together, and you try them on tied together. It's that kind of thing. Um, so on my way out, you get your shot and you have to wait a couple minutes, and they give you a little sticker that says, okay, you got your shot at 8 o'clock. You can go at 8:15. They just wanted to make sure people were okay after getting the shot. So you sit in the chairs and you got the sticker. And so people had started plastering their stickers. Kind of reminded me of like locks on a bridge, or the gross gum on a wall kind of thing. But like I thought it was kind of neat. It was a very public form of art with people sticking their stickers on this abandoned building. And yeah, there's a close up of it. But anyway, like in my head, I went there for I think 3 sets of vaccines, and in my head I started calling it the K-Vart, V for vaccine, right? Like it was just a joke to myself, like I'm going to the K-Vart. Um, but then like there's this art at the K-Vart, this very public form of art where people putting their stickers all over the buildings, and it just struck me as kind of this collective thing that was happening around this shared trauma of COVID that we had all had, and at least in New Jersey we were pretty hunkered down for a while. Okay, so fast forward in 2022, I'm listening to this interview. I listened. I was I had a 90-minute drive to work a couple times a week. I would listen to the WTF podcast with Marc Maron, and it was right after one of the. I think I had just had a visit to the West Orange K-Vart, and it was just a little joke to me, like in my own head. I have lots of these. It's not a problem, but it's something that happens. Anyway, so I heard this interview with it was Marc Maron talking with author Dana Stevens, and here they're talking about slapstick comedy.
But I mean, with slapstick shorts, you can accept it,
right?
As opposed to the entire movie.
I mean, they're
business.
timeless in a different way. It's like
Sure.
K-Vart or something like
No,
that's just going to live forever as long as you can show it.
And I think that
So when she said that, in my head I spelled it Kvart, kind of like the Kmart, and I had to rewind it because I was like, what word is she actually saying? And it took me a minute to realize she was saying cave art. Okay. So then later that year, when everything opened up, we did a road trip. My wife and I went out to Glacier National Park out in Montana. We did a drive. We just drove from New Jersey out to, we did a great big loop throughout the US. And one of the places we stopped was Pictograph State Park. Now, I have seen graffiti on rocks, but I had never seen actual cave art. And so here, like, there's some cave art. Now, granted, this is not old, like 10,000-year-old cave art. This is like 100-year-old, 200-year-olds. These are, pictographs of rifles. So, not that old, but still very cool. Like the whole site was really neat. I highly recommend it. It's one of those sort of out of the way stops, but it's just such a cool spot. Okay, so there's like another bit of cave art entering into my brain. And then I read this article by Izzy Wisher, who is a postdoctoral research, and she studies cave art. I mean, and here's the thing. I came across this article in a completely different way. I work as a science teacher educator when I'm, when I'm not in those increasingly rare moments of being able to make music and do other things. But I really like science and science teaching, all this stuff. And I had come across this article. I actually forget how I first got to it. It was in the publication Aeon, Aeon. And it's just a wonderful example of science communication. I love this article. Like, I love good writing. This is good writing. And it's just clear public communication, gets into the science, gets into the, like, both sides, all kinds of anthropology are in here. Like, it's just a really well-written article. And I've shared this article with many other people in talking about writing about science. Like, this is kind of stuff that I do. Anyway, this article was great. And it also, like, got me going on a deep dive around, literally a deep dive around caves, and learning about cave art. And that deep connection, like what makes us human? What is it about representing the world around us? I can get professory on you, but anyway, it's a good article. Okay, so go to Luray Caverns in 2023, and then when we're in Ireland, go to Dunmore Caves. We actually went to some mines in Ireland too. Like, just being underground and having that bit in there. Again, all floating around in my brain as Steve and I are taking our time, just sending sound files back and forth, again in the spaces in our very busy lives when we're making music, and sometimes making it together. But again, this is sort of a, when a theme comes back at you again and again, I've learned to pay attention to it. And then after we had settled on the name K-Vart, I was in Copenhagen for a conference, and I started seeing the word actually in Danish. It's a Danish word. It means like 1/4 or a quarter. It being the fourth song on the album is just coincidence. I wasn't getting over punny with it, but I enjoy the fact that it's fourth. Anyway, so it is an actual word in Danish, and it means a quarter. Okay, so that's the story of K-Vart. I hope you enjoyed that story, and I hope you enjoy the music. Thanks so much.